Let's go ahead and continue reading. Observant whaling captains finally figured out the source of both the round scars and the sharp beaks. They come from squids. The sailors had eaten many types of small squids, which were plentiful in the sea. They knew that a squid has powerful suction cups on its arms and tentacles and a sharp beak inside its mouth. As it battled the whale, a very large squid could have wrapped its arms around the whale's jaws to try to fight off its attacker and escape. Let's take a closer look at this illustration. The illustration is showing us what whaling captains believed the giant squids would do to the whales. They believed that these giant squids would wrap its arms or their tentacles all over their mouth, and because they have suction cups that are so strong, they were able to really grip and hold on to the whale. And it was a way to try to fight the attacker before it was able to escape. Let's take a look at the caption next to this illustration. Before scientists knew the actual size of giant squid, artists imagined they might be as big as sperm whale. Now let's take a look at this next section of our book. The many beaks inside the sperm whales' stomachs revealed that most squids lost the fight. The largest beaks, the size of a man's fist, and the round scars as big as hockey pucks could have only come from giant squid. So we learned that these whales had some beaks inside of them. We saw that in the last page with the ambergris, and those beaks were not actually from birds. These were the beaks coming from the squids, which lets them know that the squids, unfortunately, did not win the fight against the whale. Let's take a quick pause from our story, and I want you to write a gist. Remember, a gist is a short retelling of the story. In your own words, tell me what we learned in this last page. Good luck! Take a look at my gist for this last page. Whaling captains discovered that the mysterious scars and beaks were coming from the squids. Let's keep reading. Take a look at the two photographs up at the top, and now let's read their captions. This giant squid's beak is made of chitin and it's similar to crab and lobster shells. Now look at this photograph. Round scars embedded in a sperm whale's soft skin reveal that the giant squid's suckers were rimmed with small, sharp teeth. Take a closer look at the photograph. You can see some tiny little marks around the tentacles, and it says here that it's rimmed with small, sharp teeth. So it looks like their suction cups had tiny little teeth around them. Now let's read this section here. Where would a sperm whale and a giant squid meet? Whaling captains harpooned sperm whales when these marine mammals came to the surface to breathe. Little did the sailors know then that the whales regularly dive down to 4,000 feet. That's 1,200 meters, or even deeper. It's there in the deep ocean that the sperm whales encounter their favorite meal, the giant squid. Occasionally, a dying giant squid was hauled up in a fishing net, or pieces of giant squid would wash ashore. In 1873, Newfoundland fishermen caught what they called a sea monster and showed it to their local clergyman, the Reverend Moses Harvey. Clergymen are people from churches. In those days, ministers often served as the local experts on scientific as well as spiritual matters. The Reverend Harvey persuaded the fisherman to give him the remains of the squid, which he draped over a bathtub and put on display. It was the first complete giant squid specimen known to science. So here we learned that in 1873, a part of a giant squid washed ashore, meaning it left the water and came onto land. And this Minister Reverend Moses Harvey persuaded the fisherman to let him keep the squid, and he put it on display for everyone to see. So take a look at the photograph here, and let's read the captions. Left. The Reverend Moses Harvey put his sea monster on display by carefully draping it over a bathtub to show off its many arms and tentacles. And then on the opposite page, you will see many giant squid washed up on the shores of eastern Canada in the late 1800s. So keep this caption in mind for the next page. You'll get to see that photograph. But now let's read this section here. Why do giant squids sometimes wash up on shore? Scientists know that sometimes deep, cold ocean currents change their course, moving closer to the surface. Animals that normally live in the depths, including giant squid, may be transported by wayward currents into new territory, often to warmer, shallower water closer to land. So this lets us know that sometimes there are animals that live really deep underwater, just like giant squids. But sometimes the water starts to move further and further into new territory. And usually the water is moving towards places that are a little bit warmer. And places that are usually warmer are closer to land. And so it starts to push these animals, like the giant squid, closer to land. But let's keep reading. So we were here in the section that says, there, the dramatic differences in water temperatures can kill deep sea animals. Scientists suspect that these conditions existed at the times when dead giant squid washed ashore off the eastern coast of Canada. So remember, these waters are pushing these sea animals closer to land, and they're not used to the temperature, to the warmer temperature. So unfortunately, it can kill some of these animals and makes it easier for them to wash up ashore. Take a look at this big photograph up at top. There's another, not a photograph, sorry, an illustration up at the top. And we see a giant squid and some fishermen off to the side. Let's take a closer look at that caption again. Many giant squid washed up on the shores of eastern Canada in the late 1800s. So this lets us know that in Canada, around the 1800s, many giant squid were washing up ashore. And we learned that one of the reasons that giant squids wash up ashore is through the change in temperatures pushing closer to land. Now let's take a look at a photograph. It says here, a giant squid washed up on a New Zealand beach in 1984. So more recently, there have still been giant squids washing up to shore. Let's actually pause there in our book today, but let's write a gist about these last few pages we've read. And these pages told us that sometimes giant squids wash ashore.